That's such beautiful awareness because we're in that bridge, right? Midlife. Like it's such beautiful awareness. We can have compassion for older people in a way that maybe we didn't like 5 or 10 years ago, and it
Right.
ends up helping. The more the compassion is beautiful, love comes back to us, and also it helps us be really aware of things that we can do proactively at this stage of our life.
Hey, friend. So before every breathwork session exchange that I do with Rebecca Schlosser, I have a conversation with her, whether it's her breathing me or me breathing her. And they always end up being these incredibly, beautifully deep, soulful, authentic conversations, which always feel like they'd be so perfect as a podcast episode. And I tend to say to her, "Oh my gosh, I wish we were recording this because this would be such a good podcast episode because we're both podcasters." So I gave her a breathing today. And then after the breathing, she said, "Can you record this? Because I'd love to be able to hear my reflections instead of journaling it. And maybe you can even use it on your podcast if you want to." And I was like, "Yes, please." So we did that. And there was a poem that I wrote for her and just in general for the people I love, the people here, you listening here. And I just want to read you this poem and you can let it fill you up if it feels good. So, blossoming and blooming, all right, alongside you, gorgeous one, sister. Here's the key: you, me, all in a creative flow of contraction and ever expansion, reflecting in circles and spirals, the deep and vast, the brilliant and the mystical, unknown and the shared grief. Here's our edges bumping against, brushing against each other. Souls are felt beyond our mind, all always connected and transitory. Delve into the vast knowing of your natural evolution of enoughness, discovering again and again that which we've already known. Blessings, dear one. So I hope you'll enjoy this very esoteric, but also embodied and also psychological conversation that we just kind of explored everywhere in with Rebecca after her breath work. Enjoy. Welcome to the Authentic Creative, where we expand our capacity to feel good one deep breath, one bold choice, and maybe a little bit of magic at a time. I'm Siri Baruch Thornton, healer, creative, and lifelong explorer of all things energy, self-expression, and joy. With over 26 years of experience in Reiki, Akashic Records, and transformational breathwork, I've learned that feeling good is not a luxury, it's a practice. And sometimes it's a little messy. This podcast is here to help you trust your intuition, break the rules, the ones that need breaking, and live more fully in your gifts. So give yourself a deep breath, get cozy, and let's dive in. So, how are you feeling after your breathwork today, Rebecca?
I feel tremendous. I feel like that was one of the most connected sessions, just one of the deepest sessions that I've had. I had an experience towards the end. I'm going to work from the end back because that's what is most recent, and it's not about memorizing. Whatever's meant to be with me will stay with me, cannot leave me, right? But I
Mm-hmm.
had this image at the end. I thought of the pain and I thought of the spaciousness, and there's a little bit, I mean, the physical pain, there was definitely some spaciousness, from the breath, also from just how I've been caring for myself. And I was visualizing that I had this image of the women in my family lines, so my
Mm-hmm.
grandmother and because what's been coming up for me is a lot of stuff. Well, it's around like victim scarcity, but it's also around like assumed women's roles, and then assume
Mm.
some sort of assuming of what a woman of what will be taken from her. Not just like assuming, okay, how we give, how we serve, what's our place, but like, so I had this image of my grandmother, and then I conjured up an image of my other grandmother, and even my mom, even though she's on, hopefully for a long time on this plane. But they came to mind, and what I started, the wisdom that I kind of pulled this from my imagination, but it was also given to me, that i'm I'm kind of working through some of the generational trauma, that whatever my perception is that they held,
Mm-hmm.
however negative or limited, that I don't have to hold that. And I had an image, you know how you have the petals at the bottom of the feet? I
Mm-hmm.
literally had an image of like just sending all of that energy down back into the earth so that I can break that cycle, but also imagining that I'm sending some of my little pain particles down into the earth. And
Mm.
I am a believer, treat your pain however you need to. That's like that's but case in point, if I hadn't treated my pain a little bit, I probably wouldn't have been able to do this session today. I would have
Right.
just been in so much, there would have been, it would have just taken over, right? And so the spaciousness of whatever I had to do on a pharma, 3D level, it wasn't that strong, but also it allowed me to be here, and I was able to energetically imagine, all that untangling that needed to happen in my lower spine. Whether it happens or not, I'm energetically putting my awareness on it. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm also just imagining, I had memories come up of like the times in my life when I've had lower back pain, and I don't want to say they were before or after, but they were circulating. There's always trauma and stress and
Mm-hmm.
challenges.
Mm-hmm.
But like I just started to kind of, without getting too cerebral in my session, I just kind of journeyed back to like what were some of the parts and inside of me? What were some of the fearful parts? What were some of the contractions emotionally around the times that I have had back pain, and
Mm-hmm.
when it has come back and when it has manifested. So
Mm-hmm.
that was just really, really beautiful. Your music was amazing. I love to do breath holds. That's part of my medicine. So sometimes, especially when I get a lot of tetany built up in my hands and arms and feet. It's not that the message I get isn't we can't breathe anymore. The message is, wow, we got something really big. Let's pause and let's deepen it and go even deeper. And it can almost sometimes be, especially if I hold at the bottom, it can almost be like drop me even deeper into that intuitive, into that realm outside of my, ego.
Yeah.
So that was really, really powerful. It was just wonderful and amazing, and I love you. So
Hmm.
I'm not going to journal that right now, so I'm glad that you recorded it.
Yeah, I love
Mm.
that you requested to have this as a recording for your reflection and also just the permission to be able to share this because I think it's so important for other people to understand the types of revelatory experiences that we can have through the breath work that you and I facilitate. And sometimes it can be really like trying to catch air to express what does it feel like when someone is completely in this other kind of worldly realm and also simultaneously totally held and grounded, so connected to the outside realms and totally connected to Mother Earth wisdom and totally connected to their ancestors, like you described, but then also like physically aware of the somatics of, oh, this piece is connecting to that piece and that piece is firing off over here. And then because you're a breathwork facilitator, you were able to facilitate yourself into those breath holds, which I love so much. I love how we as space holders can give other people the foundation to use their highest bodily and spiritual wisdom to give themselves within their spirit, their mind, their soul, their body, the exact medicine that they're needing. And you reflecting that that was one of the best sessions you've had, for me, is the feedback is, as a facilitator, I did less than I normally do. And so it's always the lesson for me as the facilitator is do even less sometimes. Now it depends on the person, it depends
Of
on
course.
the situation, it depends on the given moment. Of course, we have to use our intuition and our wisdom. And having worked with you for several sessions, what I notice is your soul needs freedom, it needs self-direction, it needs space, it needs less lyrics, it needs a lot of just rhythmic space. So And I think a lot of people are very similar in that way. So it's a great lesson for me and for everyone to like, we don't have to go hard. And I think and I'll
Mm.
wrap up this
And I want,
ongoing
yeah, and
sentence in 1 second. But I think as a collective, our trend in self growth, as you know, and we know, is the less is more, do less, do less, do
yes.
less, do less. That's what we're all allowing ourselves to let go of this just do it culture. So I'll pause
Yes.
there. I'll pause
No,
there and let
that's
you.
beautiful. That's such a beautiful reflection back. Thank you. That's absolutely beautiful. That's a takeaway for me. You know, when, oh, what did I do? Oh, that was their most powerful session. What? Like you know what I mean? Yeah, we're holding the space is like just, it's this thing that's so simple, and it's so simple yet so vast, and it's so little but so much.
Yeah, and it
And
translates, doesn't it? Like the metaphors that we receive through breathwork translate into how we are in our life.
yes, yes, absolutely. It totally does. And I'm laughing because I thought of something. It was like an idiom. When I started laughing towards the beginning of the session, there was something that popped into my head, and I'm like, I was laughing at it because I'm like, oh yeah, it was one of those things that like is passed down, like, oh, it's a school of hard knocks, you know. It was one of those things that's like passed down from like the old world, and I can't remember what it is. But what I
Yeah.
want to share, and this is, I'm reflecting this back to myself. This has been coming up a lot for me lately, but for anybody listening, if we end up putting this into something,
Oh, I
I
definitely
really,
want to put
really,
this on the Authentic Creative like today.
we are going to have to put
It's
this in.
so
I
fun.
want to share something about anybody who is dealing with pain, struggling, and particularly struggling. Maybe you're on like the journey of breath work or mindfulness, or maybe you're holding space and you're struggling with that narrative. Is it a bad thing for me to treat my pain? And when I say treat my pain, I mean like a Tylenol, I mean like whatever. It could be a
I'm an
bit of
Advil
cannabis. It
girl
could
if I
be,
need like if I'm having a menstrual situation, I am an Advil
yes,
girl. I will say that. Yes, I'm a natural
yes,
person, but I need
yes,
to function sometimes. And
yes.
so
We
sometimes you
need
do
to
what you need to
function.
do.
We do what we need to
It's
do.
teach their own.
And yes, and what we can start to do, there's something called titration where we slowly start to, um, there was the little part of me, there was one little voice, not a loud voice, but a little voice inside that said, oh yeah, you think you're breathing out your pain, but you took something. But the thing is, our
It's
imagination
both.
is so strong. It is both. So we can, if we take something that, and I'm not saying, I'm not advocating go and be a pill popper or anything like that, but like if there's been some shame around doing the minimal needed to get to the point where you can do the
Like a
meditation, or you
baseline.
can, the
Yeah.
baseline, exactly, you can still continue to untangle. And what we're doing in our imagination, and you probably know this as a Reiki practitioner, in the very first time you ever stood and did Reiki and you'd never done it before, it was probably a lot of imagination, and then slowly you're feeling the energy actually be
Mm.
there.
Same
You know,
with
it's
the
a,
Akashic. I say it might feel
yes.
like you're making it up,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
tap
So
in.
breathing my pain out, like it might feel like I'm making it up, but we can start, especially with the breath work, we can start to get a visceral sensation. So let's say you've treated the pain
Hmm.
and there's not like a sharp pain there. For me, I was able with the breath to still get a visceral sensation of awareness around the part of the body where that's happening. And I'm able, because I have an awareness of where it is, I'm able to send my breath there. And I had this beautiful, again, imagination is not fiction, this
Mm.
beautiful image of it going down my legs and out my feet. So we
Yeah.
do really have to meet ourselves where we're at. And I think
Yes.
the most important thing, it's not for me whether you treat the pain or not, but it's, are you open to the idea that there's a connection between your pain and emotional suffering? It doesn't mean,
Mm.
and I get caught in this story a little bit because then there's the idea of, oh well, work it out emotionally, don't take a pill, no, it's emotional suffering, you got to stay. It doesn't mean you can't treat it, but it's good to have the awareness around it, because then we can be preventative for future pain.
Hey, we're going to pause here for just a moment. What's the thing that's never getting better? The thing that keeps you up at night? The loop you can't seem to break free from? Bring it to our Akashic record reading session. This isn't just a reading, it's a sacred conversation with your soul. with your team, your master's teachers and loved ones and guides. A place where the deepest parts of you are seen, heard, and understood. What happens in a session? You receive the clarity you've been searching for. You get the validation for what you've been feeling but couldn't quite name. You experience an energy clearing, releasing lower vibrational and stuck emotions so you can move forward lighter, freer, and more aligned. What if the answers you've been seeking are already waiting for you? In this space, you can finally breathe, release, and receive the relief you've been craving. One session or a package are available over Zoom from anywhere in the world. It's time to lift the weight off your heart. Say yes to clarity. Say yes to relief. Message me to book your Akashic Record reading today. Link in the show notes. And we're back.
Around it, because then we can be preventative for future pain.
This is a huge conversation, and it's humbling for me because I realize the areas in my life in which, for example, natural water childbirth, where I was so decided on that, no drugs, nothing, and that was like a source of pride, and it continues to be a source of pride for me.
Blessings
But
to
then,
you.
meanwhile, quotes contradiction is I'm saying, oh yeah, I like to take some Advil when I have period cramps. And so it is interesting because I go, let me self-reflect on where am I being staunch and dogmatic in my, kind of spiritual way of seeing things. And I know also I've had a lot of thoughts around antidepressants because that keeps popping in while you're speaking. And I'm like, well, yeah, I don't love the antidepressant solution for me personally as an option because I feel like it would create other ways that I'm not fully able to feel
Sure.
and like you're talking about to really like address the roots like you're talking about. And also I know for a lot of people it's really offensive for them to have people think like, well, just breathe or it's like no, there's a chemical imbalance here that needs addressing so I can have a baseline.
Yes.
So it's really interesting, and ultimately I think you are probably in agreement with this, but I'll just put this out to say it's really about trusting our body and trusting ourselves and trusting our wisdom and what is the right combination, and that might be different at different times in our life. I know I've been kind of judgmental about older people who have gone into kind of like relying more and more and more on medicines, but I haven't been there. I'm not there. I haven't had the experiences and challenges and sufferings that they've had. So,
That's beautiful awareness.
it's like we're all just my mom says we're all just doing our best.
Yes. That's such beautiful awareness because we're in that bridge, right? Midlife. Like it's such beautiful awareness. We can have compassion for older people in a way that maybe we didn't like 5 or 10 years ago, and it
Right.
ends up helping. The more the compassion is beautiful, love is comes back to us, and also it helps us be really aware of things that we can do proactively at this stage of our life.
Yes. Yeah,
Amazing.
so maybe it's not about rigidity and holding to a certain belief system. Maybe it's about having the flexibility of I can use what I need and then I can also do the spiritual work, or I can use what
Yes.
I can use therapy and I can also do the breath work or
Yes.
whatever that is first, because for me sometimes I'm like, "Oh, I don't need therapy anymore. I did that my whole life." I have breath work now. I have somatic practices now. I have all these other chanting and
Yeah.
journaling and da 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 da. And it's like, well, and we started the conversation before your breath work, sometimes you just need the victim part of you to be heard. And that
Yes.
is a lot of what therapy can be for people is a landing space to be heard.
Yes.
And then the breath work is like the landing space for the body to be heard.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. We can benefit from both. We have multiple foods in our diet, right? You know? Amazing. Amazing.
Well,
Oh,
thank
this
you
has been so
for
good.
doing these trades. They're so incredibly nourishing on every level. And
Same. Thank
thank
you. Thank you. I'm glowing. Same.
Is there anything else? I know you've just had your breath work and it can be kind of all encompassing. Is there anything else that's just in your awareness or in your heart that you feel like is a revelation for you, is an aha moment for you before we finish out?
Hmm. I'm just happy I showed up and did the thing, and it's you are such a good facilitator, and it's good. It just keeps me in what I am doing and what I'm bringing into the world, because that's the foundation, right? I mean, you sell umbrellas, you don't have to necessarily carry one, but like you're selling breath work. I mean, we probably will all have one at some point, especially where you are with lots of rain. I'm just feeling really good. I'm feeling really alive, really awake, and really, really centered and
Yeah,
connected
you're
to earth and sky. So thank you very, very much. I love that part about connecting to the earth and sky. And I'll have to I'm going to send you a message right after this. I have to update my Calendly, but I'll send you a message about getting you in ASAP too.
yeah. Oh, Rebecca, I love you
Yay.
so much.
I love you so much.
Every session before our breath work, whether it's you breathing me or me breathing you, we have these like incredible podcast conversations and we never record it. And so today, Rebecca was like, why don't you hit record? Because at the end of the session, she just spontaneously said that. So here we are. I hope you guys got something out of this, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for being here for this spontaneous and soulful share. If something in this reflection resonated, moved energy for you, or helped you feel seen, know that you're not alone. This is what breathwork makes possible. Hey, love, if your soul has been whispering for more connection, more clarity, more you, come join us for a truly sacred weekend, the Goddess of Light Retreat, happening September 28th to the 30th, 2025, in the breathtaking energy of Mount Hood National Forest in Oregon. This immersive retreat is an Akashic record reading certification and soul activation experience designed to bring you home to your deepest knowing and infinite wisdom of the Akashic. We'll gather in sisterhood to open the Akashic records. You will learn to read the Akashic for yourself and for others through a powerful 4-part training that begins before the retreat and culminates in our live graduation ceremony in Oregon. And if for any reason you don't feel fully empowered by the end of our retreat, we're going to have a couple more Zooms afterwards. It's not just about learning. This is about empowering you. This is about embodying the full spectrum of what it means to open the Akashic. We will infuse our time together with transformational breathwork, Reiki, and art activation with Amy Tangerine, cacao ceremony, forest waterfall walk, and space to integrate in nature while soaking in the hot tub that's an indoor-outdoor hot tub, having fully catered, nourishing meals, and some quiet magic time. This is about remembering who you are and why you're here. It's about unlocking your gifts in a circle that sees you and supports you. Spots are intentionally limited, so head to the link in the show notes or reach out to me directly to feel into whether this is for you. I would be honored to welcome you into the Akashic Records and into this sacred retreat. Thank you so much for listening and breathing with us. If this episode moved something in you, if it brought clarity, comfort, or even just a deeper breath, please take a moment to leave a 5-star review. It helps more than you know and allows this show to reach the hearts that need it most. And don't keep the medicine to yourself. Share the authentic creative with your people. Send it to a friend, post it in your stories, text your favorite quote, or shout it from the metaphorical rooftops. Every share, every review, every ripple makes a huge difference. Keep expanding your capacity to feel good, and I'll see you in the next breath.